Welcome back to another edition of the ARCA Menard Series preview show, or as some people
No,
like,
Zoomcast, Casey.
yes, I was getting to that. Thank you.
Come on.
Yes, it is. Welcome back to the Zoomcast.
There you go.
You happy now? I'm
Yeah.
Casey Campbell. Of course, that is ARCA PR Director Charlie Crawl. And what a race we saw in Dover. How about that Ford Mustang pulling into victory lane?
Yeah, Casey, obviously the car count there was a little thin, not quite what we were hoping for, but we had 10 pretty competitive race cars out there that were fighting for the win, and to see Taylor Gray get his first East win. He's won in the West, he's won in the National ARCA Menard Series Tour, hadn't been able to put it together on the East side of things. So for him to pull that off, I think he's pretty ecstatic about that. But yeah, it's great to see I'm going to say this, great to see a Ford Mustang back in victory lane in the ARCA Menard Series platform.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's been since the 1970s since a Mustang won an ARCA race.
Yeah. And of course, you mentioned this earlier. That's not the only body change that's going to happen. Eventually, we're going to see it with Chevrolet, eventually with the Camaro.
Sure. Yeah, Chevrolet is working on that right now. I do not have any time frame, but they have inquired about running the Camaro body style in ARCA, and we are more than open to that. So we'll see how long that process takes, and hopefully sooner than later. But again, I don't have any updates on the timing.
All right. Well, this week we're going to one of the most historic tracks in all of America, Nashville Fairgrounds. Of course, you guys were. Of course, it was on the main ARCA tour for a number of years. Now it's on the East tour.
Yep.
17 cars are going to be there for that race. I know it's going to be a big weekend down there for you guys. What's it like to race down at a historic racetrack like the Nashville Fairgrounds?
Oh, it's always great whenever we get to go to Nashville. Having been there a couple of times with the ARCA Menard Series National Tour, it's a phenomenal venue. I went to some Camping World Truck Series races back there in 1999 and 2002. Just a very cool place to be. It is. You kind of feel, I kind of feel the history there. I really came to know of the Nashville Fairgrounds back in the early 1980s, when my uncle's race team was still active and competing for wins in the Cup Series. And that was always kind of a racetrack that we were kind of snake bit at. So it was always one that I was always very interested in. So to be able to go there finally as an adult, and now to be able to go there and work there it's really neat, Casey. It's a great old racetrack. You can feel the fact that place has been around for a while when you're there, and it still looks very much like it did in the 1980s, and I very much appreciate that. Although the rest of the neighborhood has changed quite dramatically. There's now a new soccer stadium there that's as a matter of fact is already just open to the public. The neighborhood around the racetrack is a lot of new homes and apartment buildings, and it's a very neat place. I'm glad that the racetrack it's still there and operating, and I'm really optimistic that as things continue to progress, with the government agencies involved, that not only will it continue to stay a racetrack, but it will continue to thrive, and maybe we'll even see some national series races there. It would be great to see the Cup cars back at Nashville Fairgrounds. But as far as we're concerned, it's great to race there. It's a great venue. Bob Sargent and the Track Enterprises folks do a wonderful job. Scott Menlin, the general manager there, does a phenomenal job getting us ready, getting the track ready for us. And yeah, it should be a good race. 17 cars on the entry list. Again, not quite where we want to be. Obviously, everyone can put two and two together on that one. But we're up from where we were last year, Casey. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, of course, only 13 cars were on the entry list last year. Obviously, some faces that were in there. The biggest surprise, Mason Mingus is back. Of course, he'll be driving.
That's a surprise, Casey. He's a local guy. He had some success there last year with Jeff McClure's team, and They started on the pole last year, ran up front all night long. Yeah, I'm not surprised at all that he's back. And I expect that he'll be pretty competitive down there.
Yeah, of course, lots of drivers have driven for that Jeff McClure team at different times throughout ARCA East as well as ARCA. Of course, Sammy Smith and Taylor Gray will be there as well. Leland Honeyman for the Youngs team. Jake Finch is back.
Yeah, Jake driving for the family-owned team after a week in the Venerini car. Yeah, we should have a very competitive field up at the front. We just kind of wish that there were more, kind of filling out the rest of the field. But there will be a lot of cars, down there capable of running up into the top 5. And, I think that's, you'll see a competitive race up front. It might be a situation like we had last year where, Sammy or Taylor, jumps out front and builds a lead. But I think the racing in and amongst the rest of the top, 8 or 10 cars is going to be pretty competitive.
Yeah, for sure. Where are you guys at? Where do you think you're at right now in car count in terms of trying to get guys to come out as in the East Series at least?
Casey, I wish it was higher. But we have had some interest expressed. There's some cars on the entry list for this weekend that we haven't seen before. So, we're just going to keep working at getting more cars on the grid, and we'll see how those efforts pay off.
Yeah, of course. So we're heading into a really interesting stretch into the season for you. Of course, after this weekend, this is also the last ARCA East standalone race. The next 3 will, of course, be in conjunction with the ARCA Menard series at Iowa, Milwaukee, and Bristol. Do you see more races coming as if car counts continue to grow? Could we see more ARCA East standalone races?
Sure. I mean, that's the goal, is to get it back up to, where it was at one point. Yeah, I think we would see, more tracks interested in having these races if we had some more cars. But it's all things, come in time, Casey, and effort. And, we've saw that happen with the West schedule. We've seen a couple of events get added to that schedule after a couple of down years. When the race teams and the drivers, get the cars together and show a willingness to come to the racetrack, then, racetracks are more interested in writing the check for a sanction fee because they know they're going to be able to sell tickets for people to come and watch it. It's all kind of intertwined, Casey. So yeah, we're hoping we can, build that, competitor base back up, get more cars on the racetrack, get more tracks interested in having events. And, it's a process. We understand where we got, how we got to where we're at, but it takes time to get it fixed.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, the next few weeks, of course, the main ARCA series will take over in Kansas and Charlotte. You've got to like how the champion, how that season's been going so far.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting season so far, Casey. And I think Roger Caruth, Nick Sanchez, we're going to see those 2 young men, position themselves, in that battle for the championship. I know, there's been some other off-track news that has, potentially impacted that championship battle, and hopefully we'll get a solution to that sooner than later. But yeah, it's been a great start to the season. We've had some great car counts. We understand that, as we get to some of these other races later on in the season, that, it's probably not going to be in the 30s like it was, at some of these opening races of the year. But, again, we've seen some momentum, we've seen some positive changes, and, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing and, let that competitor base continue to grow and see where it takes us.
Yep. All right. Of course, we'll be back on next week to talk all about Kansas and, of course, recap this race at the Fairgrounds. Of course, 9:30 Saturday night, Eastern time, I should say, 8:30 Central time on Full Racing. Charlie, of course, will be on the call for that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be an interesting one to see Taylor Gray, Sammy Smith, Leland Honeyman Jr., and all our friends in the ARCA East Series.
Right. Also want to remind the ARCA CRA Super Series in action there at Nashville Fairgrounds as well. That one will be before the ARCA Menards East race, and you can watch that one live on Racing America. So yeah, lots of racing happening at the Fairgrounds this weekend. Should be a good weekend for race fans down there.
Good stuff as always.